Hangman is great. It teaches you that saying the wrong thing could end someone's life. We've all played it before. One wrong letter can end the game. In real life, words have the same effect. You can either win the game or lose it all. Words like jocks, nerds, cool kids, and so many more can lead to stereotyping. This may seem like a harmless joke, but in the long run, it can lead to racism, discrimination, and bullying.
Stereotyping can lead to issues with identity. Kids and teens start wondering who they are and what their importance in life is.
Many teens try to find themselves through their friends, personality changes, style changes, and many other negative things. It's the constant wanting to fit in and become popular. Many students go through trying to find this so-called popularity in many of the wrong ways.
And bullying doesn't get much better. We see this every day in our school. It's the name calling, the way we exclude others, and the overall unkindness towards others. It's social, mental, and even physical abuse. People do this not only to strangers, but even to their own friends.
Singer-songwriter Kurt Cobain once said, "I'd rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I am not." This quote means to us that you should always be true to yourself and not change for anyone.
This year, one of our friends went through something very difficult. This is the story of how her life was impacted, and specifically, how others' actions affected her, and even managed to affect our lives in unimaginable ways.
It started at the beginning of this year. A life that was once normal was now a nightmare.
At first, it was little things. Looks in the hall, a sneer comment, or a bump into the wall. She brushed it off and laughed, and the boys didn't find any reaction, so they moved on.
When she started to date guys, she would see notes on her locker calling her a slut. Because in this world, if you are a girl, you're either labeled a saint or a distraction.
The comments came back, but this time they were worse.
She would walk through the halls, and guys would walk up behind her and call her a walking STD.
I think that was the breaking point for her. She started cutting. Not a lot at first, just after school when she had a bad day, but the kids didn't stop.
They didn't know the emotional and now physical pain that they were putting her through.
Since we were young, we have heard that we don't necessarily have to be friends with everyone, but we still have to be nice to everyone. In other words, try putting yourselves in the other person's shoes, or treat others the way you would want to be treated.
So they knew that they were causing damage, they just didn't know the extent of what they were doing. But that is not, in any way, an excuse for their actions.
As the year went on, she tried to change her image to disappear. She no longer wore leggings, she wore sweatshirts, and tried not to associate with people.
No one knew that she had cuts underneath the sweatshirts. She fell into complete and utter depression and felt like no one wanted her. She didn't know what to do, or how to live, or she even wanted to.
She felt like a burden, and instead of telling people her problems, she shoved them down. No one knew that every time she turned a corner she cried just so no one would see. The cutting got worse, and she stopped being the girl she used to be.
Fighting a battle alone is not easy, but the war had already started.
No one was there to take away the pain, so instead, she created more.
And that's how she got her battle scars. One day, someone close to her said the wrong thing, and she was home alone. She turned off her phone and walked to a bathroom that slid down the wall, tears rapidly falling down her face.
She sat there in the dark for a long time, deciding what to do. She didn't want life anymore. She wanted it all to end. She sat there a little longer, trying to catch her breath, unable to control the tears. Death. The only thing on her mind, the only thing she could think of.
She got a sudden chill through her body as she realized what she had to do. She didn't know if it was right. All she knew was that she felt alone and there was no one to tell. She turned her phone back on, the bright screen illuminating the room. She clicked on Safari and typed, "Suicide Helpline," and for 10 minutes she sat, working up the courage to call.
Finally, she clicked call. She heard a dial tone, then a voice. "If you are in emotional distress or having any suicidal thoughts, please stay on the line." Then came a different voice, and he said, "Hello, this is Brian. Are you okay?" After she told him her problems, she said thank you, and his response was, "I'm just doing my job."
This probably should have relieved her pain, but the hurt she felt at that moment was unbearable.
I'm just doing my job? How was she supposed to feel loved when now it seemed like the only people she could talk to were just there because they had to be, not because they wanted to?
She sat up, the tears returning. She paced back and forth in the bathroom, running her hands through her hair fast, trying to get some of the pain out of her body. You have no idea what a person is going through until they open up and tell you.
And sure, you can assume that there may be something going on, but there could be a whole other story that we know nothing about. Because at home, she is a disappointment.
And at school, she's a slut.
And when someone you really care about finally tells you that this is what they have been going through for the past year, all you want to do is help.
"I'm fine," she says again and again and again.
This might all seem like a lot, but the truth is that things like this happen every single day. We can't keep pretending like it isn't a big issue because if we do, these people who need help won't get it. 44,965 suicides happened in 2018 alone because something set them off to the point where they thought the only way out was to slit their wrists, take the pills, jump, or tighten the rope around their neck until they felt nothing.
And trust me, we're not judging any of you. We're just as guilty of this as anyone else. When you first meet someone that you know nothing about, you judge on appearance.
It isn't until you first start talking to them that you may find out they'll be the nicest person you will ever meet in your life.
And even once you're friends, making comments about their character could really bring them down.
So the jokes need to stop.
Because it's not always just a joke.
Since the beginning of last year, I have found out that 5 of my other friends have either cut, overdosed, or attempted suicide.
And those are just people who have come out and told us. We have over 300 students at our school. We don't know the struggles that each and every one of those kids are facing. A, C, T.
We learned about it in health this year, but it's what we all need to do.
A, acknowledge. If you can tell that someone is really hurting, make it a key point in your day to talk to them. Because when they're at the end of the line, even a stranger asking them how their day is going, a simple "what's up?" or even a smile can make their day so much better.
C, care. They need someone to actually listen to their story. They need to know that they're not alone and that they always have someone to talk to.
And T, tell. If you see someone who is hurting themselves or hurting others, you need to tell someone. A teacher, a counselor, or just a trusted adult. Even if you don't know exactly what is happening, the best thing you could possibly do is to tell someone, because it shows that you care enough to make sure that they're safe.
It may not be easy,
But it's worth it.
I know for sure I would rather save someone's life than have them end up dead because no one had the courage to speak up.
They may get mad, but they will also be able to see that you were just trying to help.
Just imagine that kid who you heard about who self-harms and wants to die is now dead. You will never hear their voice again. You will never see them by their locker or see them walking down the halls.
And that desk that once used to be theirs is now empty. So, how will you use your voice? Are you going to tear others down?
Or empower others to be true to themselves. Diane von Furstenberg once said, "I have always believed that when you have a voice, you have an obligation to use that voice to empower others. So speak for the silent and stand for the broken. Hangman is great. It teaches you that saying the wrong thing could end someone's life.
We don't want our lives to end up like a living hangman.
So speak for them.
Sit with the person sitting alone.
Talk to them.
Ask how their day is going.
And smile.
Just acknowledge them.
Because a simple hey can make someone's day so much brighter."